All right, so as you guys can see, we are here for Shedeur Sanders, and we see he's still third string going into week 2 of the Baltimore Ravens matchup.
Let him go play for somebody. Let him go win a Super Bowl for somebody else. Honestly.
You trade Shedeur Sanders. You clearly are not sold on him right now. You're not sold on the progress that he's making, even though you're saying, hey, we're happy with where he's at.
I'm going to be livid if it goes down, by the way.
So it looks like they're going to continually play 41-year-old Joe Flacco, although he threw 2 interceptions this past weekend.
Shedeur Sanders once again finds himself pushed to the sidelines, sitting third string on the unofficial roster for the Baltimore Ravens. A name that once carried so much hype and promise, now placed on the emergency quarterback list. The shock isn't just about where he stands, it's about who's being chosen ahead of him. Joe Flacco, yes, the veteran who many believe is past his prime, is being preferred over Sanders in critical matchups like the one against the Ravens. But here's where things get interesting. There's still no clear answer on whether Shedeur will even touch the field in Week 3. His future remains uncertain, and the tension is rising fast. If he's sidelined for the entire season, this won't just be another coaching decision. It could go down as one of the most controversial moves of the year. The question is, how long can the league overlook his potential? How long before the backlash from fans and analysts becomes too loud to silence? The stakes are higher than ever, and the clock is ticking. Will Shedeur finally get the opportunity he deserves? Or are we watching the start of a season filled with frustration, politics, and missed chances? Stay tuned, because this story is only heating up.
The Browns outgained the Bengals 327 to 141 and had the ball for nearly 36 minutes, but it wasn't enough. And this is why you need to find your quarterback. I don't know why y'all fooling with Joe Flacco.
And now, the backlash is only intensifying. Each day, more fans, analysts, and even former players are questioning the Browns' management for clinging to Joe Flacco. The consensus is simple. If the team is destined to struggle, why not hand the reins to the young quarterbacks? Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel? At least then, every snap would be an investment in the future. Losses would still sting, but the experience gained could set the foundation for long-term success. Still, the Browns don't seem ready to budge. Despite mounting criticism, they continue to lean on Flacco, even though his best days are clearly behind him. Which raises the question, what's really holding them back? Is it fear of the unknown, or just an unwillingness to break from the safety net of a veteran presence? The tension is growing thick, and patience is wearing thin. If the Browns refuse to take the leap and give their young talent a real opportunity, frustration will boil over into outright outrage. The fans are demanding change. The experts are demanding change. And Shedeur Sanders? He's standing by, ready for the moment they finally decide to let him prove himself. But not everyone is ready to dismiss Shedeur's chances just yet. Some voices, like Colin Cowherd, remain confident that his opportunity is coming. Cowherd has gone on record predicting that while Sanders might remain on the sidelines for the opening stretch, by week 4 or 5, he'll be the one leading the offense. In Cowherd's view, the Browns will eventually hit a breaking point. If the losses continue to pile up, the mounting pressure from fans and media alike will force the coaching staff to make a move. That's when Shedeur will get the call, and with it, the chance to inject life into a struggling team. Even if he doesn't deliver perfection, just showing flashes of his potential could ignite a movement among the fan base. And once that happens, the demand for Sanders to start week after week will be impossible to ignore.
I tend to think by Thanksgiving, he'll just potentially be the best quarterback they have, and the fans will be clamoring for him because it's not a very good team and they'll be losing games.
And then there's Cam Newton, who isn't holding back when it comes to backing Shedeur Sanders. Newton recently praised Shedeur's boldness and determination, saying those qualities alone could give the Browns a real chance to compete, something he believes Joe Flacco, at this stage in his career, simply can't provide. Newton's stance was clear. He'd rather see a quarterback win ugly than lose gracefully. In his eyes, football isn't always about perfection. It's about finding a way to get the victory. And he's convinced that Shedeur, with his energy and untapped potential, could be the one to deliver exactly that for Cleveland.
And I've heard this many times in the NFL. I would prefer an ugly win rather than a pretty loss. I'll say it again. I would prefer an ugly win rather than a pretty loss.
Now, the noise inside Cleveland is becoming impossible to ignore. More and more voices are insisting that if DeionSanders isn't going to see the field, the Browns might be better off cutting ties altogether. The reality is undeniable. Sanders still holds strong market value, and several teams are rumored to have their eyes on him. Reporters are openly questioning the logic of keeping a player with so much upside only to let him sit idle, far from the expectations that surrounded his arrival. The fans aren't staying quiet either. A growing portion of the fan base is calling for the Browns to set Shedeur free, believing a fresh start could unlock the potential everyone knows he has. They argue that in the right system, with the right coaching, Sanders could not only develop, but thrive into the quarterback he's meant to be. The longer this drags on, the more pressure builds on Cleveland's front office. Do they stay stubborn and hold their ground, or do they risk watching Sanders blossom in another uniform? Every day that passes makes the decision harder, and time is quickly running out.
You trade DeionSanders. You clearly are not sold on him right now. You're not sold on the progress that he's making, even though you're saying, hey, we're happy with where he's at.
I'm going to be livid if it goes down, by the way.
In trying to shape the narrative around DeionSanders, the Browns have ended up making things worse. Their attempts to play down his role and importance have completely backfired. Instead of taking the spotlight off him, they've only made him a bigger story. As Mary Kay Cabot noted, the Browns underestimated the challenge of trying to contain Sanders' popularity. He's not just another player on the roster. He's a rising star with a huge following and a fan base that refuses to stay quiet. Every move the team makes to downplay Sanders only adds fuel to the fire. The criticism grows louder, the questions keep coming, and the pressure intensifies. What the Browns hoped would be a manageable situation has spiraled into a controversy they can't control. By trying to minimize his presence, they've only magnified it, turning Sanders into the center of attention and creating a problem far bigger than they anticipated.
Well, I think that this is a football team that really tries to kind of block out some of that noise or tell themselves that they can handle it, that they can handle the storm that's going to come with a player like Shedeur. Because when they got to know Shedeur during the pre-draft process,
even with all the tension surrounding DeionSanders, Colin Cowherd has revealed that the Browns' ownership is actually in his corner. According to him, the owners see Sanders as the future face of the franchise and want to get him on the field. The hesitation, however, lies with the coaching staff and front office. They're reportedly reluctant to hand him the keys right away, preferring instead to find ways to buy time, easing him into the role slowly rather than thrusting him into the spotlight from day one. Still, Cowherd argues that no matter how much they try to stall, the outcome is unavoidable. At some point, Sanders will be under center. It's only a matter of when. Colin Cowherd also highlighted a key point that goes beyond DeionSanders' actual play on the field. In his view, the Browns' ownership isn't only searching for wins, they're chasing star power. They want a quarterback who can capture headlines and energize the franchise's image, and putting Shedeur in the starting role would instantly do that. Cowherd even drew parallels to past decisions with Baker Mayfield and Deshaun Watson, where ownership insisted on making them the face of the team despite management's reservations. For Sanders, the same dynamic could be unfolding. His presence isn't just about football. It's about building a brand around him.
You believe, and many do, that the owner, he's the one that wanted Manziel. He's the one that did Deshaun Watson. He's the one that wanted Baker Mayfield. This is an ownership group that likes headlines at quarterbacks. Shedeur's a headline. Dylan Gabriel's not. I mean, look, we're paying attention to the Cleveland Browns.
At the end of the day, the situation surrounding DeionSanders and the Cleveland Browns is becoming one of the most talked about storylines of the season, even before he's taken a single snap. The comparisons to Joe Flacco have only fueled the debate, with many analysts and fans insisting that Sanders represents not just the future, but possibly the present. What makes this controversy so explosive is the fact that Sanders hasn't even had the chance to prove himself on the field. Yet his name dominates headlines and sparks arguments across the football world. the Browns now find themselves at a crossroads. Do they continue to rely on a veteran quarterback whose best years are clearly behind him? Or do they take the leap of faith and give Sanders the opportunity to showcase his talent? The longer they wait, the louder the calls will get, and the more pressure will build on both the coaching staff and ownership to act. One thing is certain: Shedeur Sanders' story with the Browns is far from over. Whether he becomes their savior or leaves to shine elsewhere, his name will remain at the center of the conversation. The clock is ticking, and Cleveland can't ignore it forever. What do you think, Browns fans? Should Shedeur Sanders finally be given the chance to prove himself, or is it too soon to throw him into the spotlight? Do you believe Joe Flacco still deserves the starting role, or has the time come to look toward the future with Sanders? And most importantly, do you think the Browns are making a huge mistake by keeping him sidelined while other teams might be ready to unleash his full potential? Share your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear from you.